Let's talk about a recent development that I find both important and fascinating. I speak of this apparently universal perception that seems to see Islam and Israel as inextricably linked to one another. Honestly, wherever I look, people of every political and ideological stripe seem to see the two, Islam and Israel, as inseparable. More specifically, they see them through a rigid either-or framework. That is, they see them as mutually exclusive. If one is good, the other must be bad. If one is bad, the other must be good. Interesting logic, no? I bring this up because as Israel comes under increasing criticism, so too does the old construct morph into its antithesis. Consider, for decades, the logic was that if Islam is bad, then Israel must be good. But now, as criticism of Israel continues to mount, the logic has inverted. Now, if Israel is bad, then Islam must be good. This is, to be blunt, perverse reasoning. Consider what it implies. The actions of a tiny Jewish state are supposed to somehow define the religion of nearly 2 billion Muslims around the world? Look, whatever one thinks of Israel, Islam has historically been, and in many ways continues to be, the West's most persistent adversary. I have documented this extensively in my books, From Sword and Scimitar, which looks at the historic Muslim conquests of Christendom, to Crucified Again, which looks at today's Muslim persecution of Christians. The facts speak for themselves. From its very origins in the 7th century, Islam emerged as a militant faith that expanded through violent conquest, primarily against surrounding Christians. Thus, what we nowadays call the heart of the Muslim world, that is the Middle East and North Africa, from Iraq in the east to Morocco in the west, was in fact once the heart of the Christian world. Islam conquered it all, and for centuries thereafter repeatedly pummeled the last bastion of Christendom, also known as Europe. Almost 1,000 years after conquering Christian Spain in the year 711, Muslims were surrounding Vienna in 1683. Indeed, the United States' very first war as a nation, the First Barbary War in 1801, was against Muslims who were raiding American vessels and enslaving their sailors. When Thomas Jefferson asked Barbary's envoy, one Abdul Rahman, why his countrymen were terrorizing Americans, the ambassador answered us, Jefferson wrote to Congress, that, quote, it was founded on the laws of their prophet, that it was written in their Quran, that it was their right and duty to make war upon them, non-Muslims, wherever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could. Now here's the thing. Israel did not even exist during any of this time, during these more than 1,000 years of jihads on Christendom. Therefore, Israel's 77 years of existence and its policies, whether one supports or condemns them, tell us absolutely nothing about Islam's past or present relationship with the West. In short, criticism of Israel does not equate exoneration of Islam. This is a false and dangerous dichotomy. To prove this once and for all, consider the figure of Hilaire Belloc, a prominent European intellectual who lived from between 1870 and 1953. I've often quoted him for his remarkably insightful views on Islam. For example, in 1938, a decade before Israel came into being, and when the Islamic world was at its weakest vis-a-vis the West, he wrote, quote, millions of modern people of the white civilization, that is, the civilization of Europe and America, have forgotten all about Islam. They have never come in contact with it. They take for granted that it is decaying, and that anyway, it is just a foreign religion, which will not concern them. It is, as a fact, the most formidable and persistent enemy which our civilization has had, and may at any moment become as large a menace in the future as it has been in the past. This is from his book, The Great Heresies. Now, by today's logic and standards, not least this syllogistic seesaw I just mentioned between Islam and Israel, Belloc's strong criticism of Islam would immediately be taken as ipso facto support for Israel. Yet Belloc was apparently not overly fond of Jews either. In 1922, he published a book titled The Jews, which, according to many, classify him as an anti-Semite. My point in telling you all this is that Belloc is proof that just because a person presents Islam as the West's most formidable and persistent enemy, to use his own words, does not mean that they are doing so simply to defend Israel, as the charge nowadays goes, for the two are not connected. To reiterate, Criticism of Israel should not morph into an assumption that Islam, which is practiced by 2 billion people all around the world, is inherently virtuous. These are separate issues. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is localized and tells us very little about Islam at large. For example, millions of Muslim migrants are causing havoc throughout Europe. And Islamic jihadist organizations, with ISIS being just the tip of the iceberg, are terrorizing infidels throughout Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, including Israel itself. So is the existence of the Jewish state and its policies really necessary to explain Islamic behavior and phenomena that has existed since the dawn of Islam 14 centuries ago? I think not.